that were voted on in our April 24th meeting, and then the decisions on that stand? Or are we asking to amend the ed specs or amend those motions? So it's unclear to me as to, from a procedural standpoint, why we're doing this and what effect it has.
I think
I'm going to defer to Dr. Jones.
Dr.
for the
Jones
moment.
has the answer to that one. Thank you.
So the reason that we are approving the ed spec is otherwise we would, when we get ready to submit on that June 30th deadline, we would be submitting all of the 40 plus motions along with the old ed spec. And there's real concern that that's going to be very confusing at the Office of School Construction. And if they don't really understand what they're looking at, we haven't really made it the way it normally would come into them. It may very well not get, accepted. And so it was advised that the board, because the only change to the ed spec are those motions that the board, agreed upon. And that way, when they get ready to submit, they're submitting one ed spec. And I will say we had an HVAC grant, and Blaze, feel free to chime in. We had an issue with the paperwork where it looked a little different in how it was submitted because of the date of the original ed spec, like for JC, and then the timing of when we were doing the project, and they kind of didn't look any farther. And we had an additional meeting, and we'll be resubmitting, but that it goes to exactly what they're concerned about if we try to submit 40 odd motions.
Yes.
Now we'll go to discussion. Point of order has been addressed. Now we'll go to discussion. If you would, please.
Cody.
Just, is this basically just a procedural vote to say, hey, instead of sending 46 things, send one thing? So don't view it as it's not, because otherwise
It's a memorialization of all the things we voted on incorporated into one document.
Yep. So it's not about what your view of the ed specs are, because those 46 go through. All right. I'm asking this partially in the spirit of hoping that this makes it a quick discussion.
Dr. Mercanti, Anthony.
Ms. Crescent. So can you read the motion again, the proposed motion in to Cody's comment there, question there?
To approve the educational specifications for a new central middle school dated August 11th, 2022, as revised April 24th, 2023.
So that language doesn't sound like that. Doesn't that language sounds like an endorsement, not a recognition that that's the outcome of what we said of the April meetings.
It's a culmination of all of our votes in one handy dandy document.
I think Mike is saying that there's a better way to phrase that can incorporate all the votes.
I
Maybe
guess the
we can
question is
explore.
whether that's acceptable to the state. I'm happy to help Laura rephrase the motion, but the question is whether that passes muster with the Office of School. Like if I don't know what their wording is. I'm happy to phrase it differently and help her do that, but I guess and if people are happy with that, then I guess we could deal with it if we have a problem with the state.
Does Karen, do you have a question?
Oh, no, I was just going to say it was exactly what Cody had said. We already made the motions in the board as a whole, even if it wasn't entirely unanimous on every single line item, approved these ed specs. This was just, we're just approving the revised document to reflect those votes. That's it.
Right.
Because we have to have it to submit to the state.
You don't have
right?
to put any little hearts next to your name. You can
No, I
feel
think,
okay about that.
right. I think,
And we also went through to make sure that, there were periods at the end of a sentence and make sure, that kind of stuff.
right. So I think so in the spirit, I think we can get to unanimity if we're talking about if we're rephrasing
Do you have a
amending the language.
suggestion, Dr. Mercanti Anthony? I
Not
won't give you
probably-
any side eye, I promise.
I don't believe you. Go ahead. Ms.
All right, I'll try it. Okay. I'll make a motion.
Oh,
No, I can amend. Well, which would you prefer? I'll make a motion to amend Laura's motion such that the new motion would read, approve the educational specifications for a new central middle school dated August 11th, 2022 are accurate in reflecting the board votes of April 24th, 2023.
I second your motion.
It's been seconded. I'll take control again of the vote if possible. Michael,
all
is this
yours.
something we're thinking we can possibly wrap our arms around? Go ahead. Let's give it a shot.
I read the start. It was a motion to approve the educational specifications for a new central middle school dated August 11th, 2022 are accurate to reflect the board votes of April 24th, 2023.
It's been seconded. We're in discussion mode right now. My question to you, Michael, is you think that's something that could get some unanimity here?
So that for the motion to approve part is it's the motion to approve them. I'm not the lawyer. I'm not one of the lawyers in the room. The motion to approve part is.
Should you say? Can I make it not that I would make a suggestion and I can make a motion to amend, but I would say motion to amend the amendment to approve the educational specification document. Is that right? Because it's not just the specs for
Yeah,
for
wait, all right,
whatever
I
it is,
get-
but to reflect, but what you'd said reflect the votes of the
Okay,
board.
wait,
but
how
it's
about this?
To reflect the revisions.
Okay, how about this? Laura, why don't you withdraw your motion? I'll withdraw my motion to amend.
I'll start from scratch.
No, I've got one. Okay, no.
Okay.
I'd like to make a motion, Joe, a motion to confirm that the educational specifications for a new central middle school as presented accurately reflect the results of the board votes of April 24th, 2023.
I'll
Do I
sec,
have a
I'll,
second?
I'll
I
second
will
it.
second that.
I like that one.
Cody will second it. What I'll do is I'll call the question. All in favor, please put your hand up. All opposed, please put your hand up. Abstention, please identify. We are 7-0-1. Thank you. Thank you, everyone.
Mike, thanks for doing that. I appreciated the.
Mike, you're up. Board goals.
Before you move on, Joe, was Laura's original motion withdrawn?
Yes, it
We were
was.
Talking about amendments at one point.
Everything was withdrawn.
They were both withdrawn.
All right.
Laura said,
excellent.
I will withdraw my motion, which then negates the.
There
amendment.
were,
No, Laura's
Yes, the
original
original motion was withdrawn. And it was a brand new, the amendment was withdrawn and it was a brand new motion that Christina put forward.
All right, thank you.
Said to you, Mike.
Thank you.
so Mr. Chairman, there were some late emails around the board goals this afternoon. And if we are having a special meeting, I'd like to suggest that. the
Agreed.
board goals go.
Move it over to the special meeting. Thank you. Next, we'll consider the superintendent's contract extension. The motion is to extend Dr. Jones's contract for 1 year. Our present contract ends, I believe it's June 24. Is that the month? Extend that from June 24 to 1 year extension to June 2025. Do I have a second? Second, Michael. Discussion. Kathleen.
Sure. I will be voting no on a 1 year extension. I'm just going to give you a little reasoning why. Just to bring you all back to center, I led the executive search in 2019. We made a specific effort at that time to focus on finding the right superintendent that could stop the superintendent turnover. I'm just going to recall some of the characteristics that stood out in our search that we specifically requested: that she was student-centered, that she was a strong manager. Oh, sorry, I should have said it was a person at that time. It wasn't a she. A track record of success, a great communicator, a superintendent experience at a similar district. It was a countrywide search. Dr. Jones rose to the top. She was clear on her commitment. She led our district in the right direction on so many fronts for our students without even throwing a little pandemic at her in between. She leads a 10,000 person organization tirelessly and I'd say seamlessly. I started to write, she's focused on the most important thing, our students. And I started to list these things. And then I thought about it. I heard it tonight. I mean, when that fourth grader came up, then when the principal came up, and then when people talked about just her increase in communication with all of the, to her staff, to the parents, to us. She has, and one of my favorite things is she's created savings because when we finally have someone that's in control, she actually has brought back 2.5 million plus annually simply through redeploying and reducing overhead. But no one could do that unless you actually have some consistency and leadership. And then let's, of course, the fact that she's recruited a great team, and that's because people want to be around her. She is our proven CEO, and having run a superintendent search, I can share that the market is a 3-year contract and therefore a 2-year renewal at this time is customary. Anything less than 2 years is a vote of no confidence for her and her team, which is watching this closely, not the message I want to deliver.
Thank you. Anybody else? Christina?
Thank you, Kathleen. I too am not in favor of a 1-year contract. I think a 2-year extension of Dr. Jones' contract is warranted. 2 weeks ago, the board met to give Dr. Jones her review, which was overwhelmingly positive. That same meeting, we unanimously voted on a salary increase for her for next year. Those are the actions of a board that believes the superintendent is doing a good job. If that's the case, we should be doing whatever we can to ensure that she stays here at GPS to promote the stability that the district needs after a number of years of turnover and resulting chaos at times. Dr. Jones has been with us in Greenwich for 4 years now, and during that time, she shepherded us through COVID. We opened schools in September 2020, unlike many other districts. She's led a comprehensive review and revision to our special education program. She's continued throughout these years to continually strive to improve our schools via programs, curriculum, and personnel, while also adhering to extremely strict budgets imposed by the town. Are there things we would like her to still work on? Yes. And we have communicated those to her, and we have witnessed her repeatedly respond well to our feedback. But if we tell her we want her to have a vision for and lead the Greenwich Public Schools going forward, we need to give her the time and the opportunity to achieve those. A 1-year extension does not do so. Some of my colleagues have articulated no reason whatsoever why a 1-year extension is appropriate, more appropriate than a 2-year. Even in light of that other districts provide their superintendents with a 3-year contract at a time when they want to retain them. If my colleagues would like to respond, I'd like to hear a precise explanation about why we should take a different approach than other districts in the area. And I pose this question to my colleagues. How does a 1-year extension versus a 2-year serve the strategic and long-term needs of the school district to provide for stability and planning? Or how is that beneficial to our students? Our district has been characterized by turnover. We finally have stability. And do you want to jeopardize that? One could surmise there are some political motivations involved, personal or professional. And while I don't like to listen to gossip or scuttlebutt, I believe everyone on this board should be in a position that they are not seeking to be superintendent, supporting other people to be superintendent, trying to get our superintendent out. If they are, they have a conflict and they should recuse themselves. We have a superintendent with a proven track record who we say we want to keep. So we as a board need to put our money where our mouth is and extend the contract by 2 years.
Thank you. Michael?
So I appreciate it. One of the challenges, Dr. Jones, I feel bad that one of the challenges of being superintendent here, as you know, is that we all have to debate this in public if you're sitting here. I do not relish the awkwardness of your seat. I think the other thing that needs to be said publicly is that the motion on the table is an extension of the contract. And I suspect that there is widespread agreement to extend the superintendent's contract because for all the reasons that Ms. Downey, Ms. Stowe just mentioned. At the beginning of, so for clarity for community members that might be watching, right? So Dr. Jones is currently in the second year of a 3-year contract. At the beginning of this year, she began the year with 2 years left on the contract, on her contract. If we, with a 1-year extension, she would enter next year with in a similar vein, with 2 years on her contract. Offering at the same time, this board has quite recently gone through a strategic plan process where we've established a number of different metrics and things that we've tied to the superintendent recommendation and things like that. This time next year, many of those metrics will for the first time in 4 years, we'll have data around those metrics, which is an appropriate opportunity for the board then to have a similar conversation about contract extension. I think I would encourage the community not to view any vote this evening as a vote of no confidence in Dr. Jones. Instead, my vote for this 1-year extension is a vote in favor of Dr. Jones and the excellent work that she's been doing on the board, as well as an endorsement of increased systems of accountability and governance that we are doing as the Board of Education. As these metrics come online, as we consider how we evaluate the superintendent and the district performance over years, knowing that next year we'll be in a similar, with a 1-year extension, would be in a similar situation, looking to extend discussing the extension of the superintendent's contract and offering 2 years of job security, similar to how we were in September.
Thank you. Cody?
I think it is more appropriate to have these conversations in executive session, but I think the 1-year extension is well deserved, and it makes a lot of sense to me. I think it's worth reminding the public that these contracts do not contain no fault termination clauses, which is, I think, more common in the public sector. But I would never give anyone a 2-year extension on. It doesn't matter who they are. So I wouldn't. I just want you to make sure that you don't read into the idea that, in the same way I wouldn't do 5 or 10 years. There's no limiting principle. I think it's, if someone's doing a great job, you give them an extension, enter next year the way they entered this year. And I think that's a very healthy dynamic, and it sets a good precedent as well, because I think in the future, 20 years from now, it'll be great if the board is not bound or pressured into, longer term contracts with, very diminished flexibility.
Thank you. Anybody else? Then I'll conclude. Karen, did you want to jump in before I concluded? Or are you trying to sneak a conclusion after me?
Well, I don't know. I'll let you, but.
That means I have to conclude. You go, Karen.
And I was going to just simply say that I understand we've had discussions in concerns and understanding of 1 year versus 2 year. And it's just yes, while something is done traditionally one way, doesn't mean it always needs to be done that way. But there are reasons that they are done certain ways, 1 year versus 2 years. And I would simply say, we have never had a superintendent, I should take it. She's made more forward movement than any superintendent that I can remember in the past 15 years that I've been involved in working with our, and advocating for our schools here. She's been integral in the process and direction of our recently improved strategic plan, and keeping those items on track and focused on for, student achievement and other areas of special education. And I think we all know 1 year of data doesn't say much. I mean, it'll give us a positive movement, but 2 to 3 years shows trends. And I think we need to be able to have that option, looking in those areas. And, that's to me, she's been very responsive. And I feel like, that's one of those things that, we've talked about. And so to me, that's kind of a key point in having 1 versus 2, is having those opportunities to really look at trends.
Thank you, Karen. And I guess I'll wrap it up here. Tony, my number one goal in this topic as the chairman of the board is to extend your contract. Okay, that is important. I think that's best for our community. That's best for our schools. I think that shows that this board likes the job you're doing. We heard from the board about your evaluation, and everybody, 100% of this board, I believe, I will find out, I think from what I'm hearing, wants to extend your contract. Second priority, as far as the board, me as the board chair, a unanimous decision on how this board looks at you, all voting together, showing the community that we are combined, that we think as one unit, and we want to support you as a board chair, all unanimously voting to tell the community that any negativity, I don't want to hear any more negativity, because we all, 100% of us, are voting in favor of you. That's the reason why I think there's a very, very high importance of having a unanimous vote. I want to renew your contract. I want everyone to vote 1 year. I want everyone to vote 2 years. Whatever we can get everyone to vote on, I would like to support. I'm struggling to find the ability to get everyone to vote 2 years. 1 year is something everyone is kind of voted on, but they want another year at the back of that other year. So it's kind of like half want 2 years, half want 1 year. 3, I don't think it's fair to force somebody who wants to enter into a 1-year extension on a 1-year contract to enter into a 2-year extension on a 1-year contract. To force people who don't want to do that, having employed thousands of people in my past, knowing that when people don't get the contract or the endorsement that they're looking for, they tend to find faults in that employee. They tend to want to undermine that employee. They tend not to work together or own the decision. The point here is, if we can get 8 people to own this decision, 8 people will defend this extension to the community. And I think that's paramount. I think that's the most important thing, because we do get attacked on a regular basis. And you heard when people gave personal evaluations of you, they are in support of you. And if we are saying that people who want 1-year extension and are forcing them to take a 2-year extension, they might not defend you. They don't own the decision. I think it's really, really important that all 8 of us own this decision, and we all come together and make this decision. And on a personal note, I will be leaving the board in November. I will not put myself up for re-election. In my personal opinion, which is why I yielded to the advice of colleagues at this point, it's not my job to make the decision of the future of another board. That board has to make the decision on their one and only employee. And so I hear there are some people that want a 1-year extension on the 1 year, and I hear there are some people who want the 2-year extension on the 1 year. Yeah, it's not my decision to do that. My decision and my motivation is to get a unanimous vote in one way or another. And I don't know how we're going to get there with different opinions, but that's where I stand. Anyone else? I will, Cody, go ahead.
Well, isn't a logical thing to do to vote on a 1-year extension and then have a 2-year extension vote right after?
Yeah, well, sure. Right, that makes sense. So let's take a vote. All in favor, please raise your hand of the 1 year of the motion, right? All against? That's 4-4. That motion does not pass. Is there another motion?
I'll make a motion to extend the superintendent's contract till June 30th, 2026, and authorize the board chair to execute that contract.
Kathleen will second that. Any discussion? I'll call the question. All in favor, please raise your hand. All against, please raise your hand. Your hands up, okay. Motion fails. We have a special meeting coming up. I don't think a discussion at this point is going to advance our maybe it might. Oh, okay, go ahead, Karen.
Joe, I'd like to make a motion that we should, I'd like to make a motion to extend Dr. Jones' contract for 1 year and authorize the chair of the board to sign that so that it extends it to June of 2025.
Please, yes, explain that. I'm confused.
So is there any reason why we can't? I mean, so it sounds like there is agreement, around the room that everybody wants at least 1 year.
Oh, I see. You're remaking the same motion. Okay, I'll second that motion. Any discussion on the 1 year extension on the 1 year contract?
How is, what's the point of order?
Yeah.
We're revoting the exact same thing we just voted.
There's no limit on the number of times you can make a motion and vote on it.
Yeah, I think the point is that if you're in favor of a 2-year extension, presumably you're more in favor of a 1 year over not having any extension at all.
But
That just seems reckless to me, but that's
Comments,
what you guys wanna
comments are
do.
not helpful. Leave it all to voting. So we have a motion, we have a second. Any further discussion? All in favor, please raise your hand. All against, please raise your hand. That motion fails. So now, we can go around for a while, but I don't think we'll accomplish much, but all right. So, are we okay to move on? I don't think we can resolve anything at this point. Thank you. Where are we now? Let's see. The agenda plan. We have an agenda plan discussion.
Joe, we should probably add to the agenda some kind of something related to a search, related to a new superintendent, if there's not going to be support on the board to extend the contract a year. I'm just saying practically, we just had the opportunity to extend the contract.
We have till June 30th.
Yeah, but we just, unless. But I'm just saying we got a clear indication from the board of where certain people stand, so. I think it would be irresponsible not to put something on the agenda to start planning around that.
I shall make note of it. Thank you.
I would like to rebut what that comment was.
Well, you could put something on the agenda, or this is just an agenda discussion. There's no real
Well,
discussion.
I know about the superintendent search. I think that is not the consensus of this board. The consensus of the board is, yes, we want to keep Tony.
Right.
It's how long to keep her. And I think half of the board is in favor of keeping her longer. So I don't think we're at the superintendent search stage. I think we have another meeting coming up and we have till June 30th.
So you're suggesting we put on the agenda that coming up, the superintendent's contract. I agree with that. So I
Yes.
think we should put that on the
I'd
agenda.
also like to defer the agenda plan to our special meeting because it's 11:25.
Yes, okay, I concur. Let's do that. So there is one more item which you're going to bring Dr. Bud's item up. Is that what you're doing, Christina?
No, I was actually going to talk about scheduling our special meeting.
Oh,
Yes, I
correct.
wasn't
I
talking
just
about,
wanted
yeah.
to make sure- I was going to tell her that, yes. I think I will make the phone calls on Friday to address the special meeting. I think it's probably, I don't know what my schedule is.
Okay.
Right. I think we should do it on Friday, and I think Laura should make her motion.
Oh, motion to adjourn.
I'll second that. All in favor? That's unanimous. Thank you.